Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time in the world it is for you. This is Carla from MindPlore with Carla and Friends. And we are really excited about this topic, or I think everyone is. I hope I'm not lying. We are going to be speaking about becoming more confident. Everyone in the world needs to work on this. I know I do every day. I don't think I'm confident enough. And why is Cameron taking pictures right now? I don't know. But we are going to become more confident or more aware of our lack of confidence so we can become more confident. And I speak to it every day. People always say, Carla, I cannot speak English. I cannot speak like a Native American. I cannot speak like X, Y, and Z, and they all say it so beautifully and so wonderfully. And I say, you're doing it right now. Everything is right about you because everything you are is what you are. And you are a perfect being on this planet. All we're doing is becoming more perfect and more of ourselves every day as we grow and grow and grow. Having said that, Jeannie, you know what I want you to do. Please introduce yourself and let's get this show on the road.
Hi, Carla. Good morning, good evening. It's going to be a great day, she says with confidence. Confidence is a great subject for us to discuss here because it basically means a feeling of self-assurance and appreciating one's own abilities. So words like poise and a plume come up, but positivity comes up, conviction and certitude, reliability and assuredness. So confidence means a lot of things to a lot of people. And I heard a story from a great American actress, Christina Ricci, when she was going on Broadway for the first time. Now, Christina's done probably 30 films. The one I loved the most was Casper the Friendly Ghost. But during her first day going onto Broadway, she said she was just paralyzed with stage fright. So what that brings up to me for me regarding confidence is that I think that stage fright hits us all, no matter how professional we are, and it interrupts, and we allow it to interrupt when what we need to do is walk through it to show our confidence, because there's only one expert in who we are, and that's us. And with that, I'm going to kick it back to you, Carla.
How can you say that we can be the only expert of ourselves? Expound on that a little, Jeannie.
Well, it's an insight that I got when I was doing some research with on the Bureau of Labor Statistics for the United States. I was getting ready to do a speech for one of my Toastmasters groups on research. So I went in to research my own career. And I found out when I'm looking there that there are 250,000 people in the United States that say they do what I do, which is public relations. That's 250,000 people that I should be competitive with. 250,000 people that could replace me. And I was thinking about it, and what I realized was there's 250,000 people who know one thing that I know, but they didn't grow up with my mom and dad. They didn't go to all the schools that I went to. I was a military child, so I went to a different school every year until high school, which gave me a different perspective than anybody else I went to school with. They didn't go to the college I went to. They didn't have the same jobs I did. So when we approach the same project, we come with different perspectives. There's nobody else in the world that's more expert on Jeannie Alford than Jeannie Alford. That's what I mean. I'm the only one that's gone through that bazillion kinds of activities and experiences and thought patterns. So that's one of the things that we need to hold on to. There's nobody else in the world that knows us better than ourselves. And when we hold on to that, we can confidently say, I know what I'm talking about. When I'm talking about public relations, I know what I'm talking about because I've been there, I've done it. But there's nobody else in the world who's done the same thing as me. So that makes me an expert. Plus, I can tell you I've done the 10,000 hours that Malcolm Gladwell says you need to do to become an expert. Yeah, but that's what I mean. Carla, there's nobody in the world who's had the same experiences as you have, although there are hundreds of thousands of special ed teachers out there. But you bring a unique set of gifts to that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And it's true. And it's something that I say every day, especially when I'm beginning to say this phrase, everything is right about you. Lee Weissman, how do you talk about confidence? What are your words of wisdom?
Well, I have to admit first of all that I have a very unsteady relationship with confidence. Um, Although I must say, I was just remembering the first time I ever spoke in public. The first time I ever spoke in public that I remember was when I was in graduate school and I had a seminar with 4 people, and I had to give a paper for 4 people. And I remember I was so terrified that my hand was shaking so hard that I actually dropped my pen in the middle of my presentation, and I could not control the shaking in my voice. And now I have exactly the opposite problem. The opposite problem is, and that is that I can speak in front of any group of people on almost no notice, and I always sound like I know what I'm talking about, even when I know that I don't. So I can't really say I have a confidence problem necessarily, but I would say that I have an uneasy relationship with confidence, in the sense that um, I sometimes suspect my own expertise, and think to myself, am I really expert? Have I really done those 10,000 hours, or have I not done those 10,000 hours? And so I would say I have this very strange combination of certainly a confidence, but also a sense of self consciousness, and that sometimes inhibits me from expressing my confidence.
I have a question for you, Lee, from what
Sure.
you said. First of all, look at how confidently you spoke just now. You did beautifully. And this
Thank you.
show today is about building confidence. And I'm building confidence. Jeannie is. So is Rayhan and Cameron and Ozma. Don't you feel that you've been building confidence through the years? And that you will, just like all of us, you will keep on building it.
Yes, and I think that if I can give myself a little bit of credit, you know, I think I built confidence by doing things which were uncomfortable for me. You know, pushing myself into situations and through situations that were not so comfortable, but I saw that I was able to deal with them and to deal with them well, and that builds confidence.
And that's what building confidence is all about. And you
Oh,
are
we
not
figured it out. Now I can go.
right. But that's why you need to be here, because you're going to help others learn that. And you have
Oh,
so much to offer. I tried to tell you that before, but because of what you just said, it became clearer to you and clearer to me what I wanted to say to you. And that's building confidence. And to be honest with you, I was not extremely confident about bringing you today because I knew how you felt. But I really wanted to have you here. So, how do you feel now with me?
I feel so much more confident.
Great, we're doing our job. And that makes me feel more confident about talking about building on confidence. We're all learning together. Um, Cameron.
Thank you. Thank you, Carla. It was lovely to meet all of you again, particularly after the conference. And I must say that confidence itself is a remarkably beautiful word, because I find that if there is one thing that defines an individual to the world, it is confidence, because one is able to have executive presence as a result of confidence. And it comes from, in my view, being positive about yourself. Now, if I'm positive about myself, others will also have confidence in me. So, confidence has several dimensions, and I would say that trust is one of them. Confidence building measures is literally trying to build trust between people who are party to a particular transaction or a negotiation, and are trying to arrive at a goal which is required. So, confidence itself, I feel, is again multidimensional. Overconfidence could be deadly. Underconfidence could be extremely passive, and you might not do anything in life. So the idea here is to find the balance of confidence which is appropriate to a given situation. And how do I define confidence? Having read some literature, I find that it is our ability to do something. It is our ability to do something. Now, what do I do every day? I'm confident enough to do it. If I'm not doing it, it's either that I'm afraid, and I might be afraid because I do not know how to do it, and I might be afraid of people laughing at me, or I might blunder and get zapped. So I feel that, as Lee rightly mentioned, our confidence grows as we do new things progressively and different things. And in particular, we are confident in some areas, but not so confident in others. And this again links up with the comfort zone. The comfort zone is an area where we are confident in the stuff that we are doing. And whenever we are required to attempt tasks that we are not familiar with, our confidence shakes. And I think that's when we have butterflies in our stomach. And I love this analogy that was shared with me many years ago. When we have butterflies in our stomach, either before speaking, in front of a huge audience, or before we are about to commence a task, getting those butterflies to fly in formation is confidence in its best form. And trying to keep your wit and your calm in order to be able to deliver what you were there to deliver, I think is really the beauty of confidence itself. And I have a feeling that we need to cherish that. It is proof of being alive. It is proof of wanting to live and do things and make a contribution. And I feel that that potential that we keep talking about, the infinite potential that we have within us, will begin to come forth by us deliberately building ever greater confidence in all the areas that need our intervention.
Thank you, Comrade. Now, I have a question for you, or actually, I have a statement, and then it'll become a question. When I was doing this conference and putting it together, you can ask Asma and Rayhan how what lack of confidence I had for it to happen. And during the whole conference, each day, I had butterflies in my stomach because I didn't know how it was going to go. The people who came and spoke were so wonderful and so beautiful that it built my confidence. So I'm sure that there are things that you do every day that build confidence. But no, excuse me, I'm saying it wrong. I'm sure that every day you do things that you're really confident about. But are there things that you lack some confidence with each day?
Of course, definitely there are areas where I'm asked to deliver on something. As a management consultant, I have a certain expertise in leadership. And when I'm required to deliver on assignments which are slightly off the beaten path and I'm not familiar with it, I have not done it before, I tend to be very candid and honest about it. And I say, I'm willing to do it. I've not done it before, but I believe in myself and I will give it a try. Now, you better be ready for an outcome which may not be very delightful. So, one thing I've discovered is that confidence doesn't come from knowing things. And that is a fallacy because knowledge is unusual. The more you know, the more you realize how little you know. And it is inversely proportionate. So I've often asked people, what is the source of confidence? And the answer flippantly comes knowledge. Well, I think if knowledge was the source of confidence, then we would be lacking in it because there is so much we don't know. And the more we know, we realize we know even less. So, what is then the ultimate source of confidence? And I discovered that it's honesty. Honesty to be able to say, I don't know. Honesty to be able to say, I have never done it before. Because if it is being honest, then I find that your confidence can give you a lot of mileage and opportunities for growth. It is when we are trying to prove something that we are not, when we are pretending, when we are wearing a mask, that's when we create false expectations and create a problem, not only for ourselves, but we harm our credibility, our integrity in the process. So I feel that it's really good to be upfront and to state things as they are. And as Jeannie said a while back, that no one knows you better than you yourself. And you must know your strengths and your weaknesses. You must be aware of them, at least those that are at the surface. And once you are, do not be afraid of sharing them. And that's part of being vulnerable that we discussed a while back. And I have a feeling that when we are honest with ourselves and those we interact with, our confidence level will be high. We'll be able to deliver. And if we do blunder, it will not surprise anyone. They'll encourage us. And I find, Carla, that you are a great example of that. You take on challenges and you also accept the fact that you are uncomfortable with it and you share it, but you do not shirk away from it. You take it on. And as a result, you get that kind of support that you were mentioning.
To be honest, I was very nervous when I started MindPlore. And now look at it. Ozma seems to be having some technical difficulties. So, Rayhan, could you discuss your feeling of confidence? And here.
I had no idea what the topic was. I just saw Kamran and Lee is here. I did not know Jane was going to be here. I just jumped in just so I can see Lee and Kamran Bhai and be around them. And that's all that pulled me in. I would say I was one of the most inconfident person I know of in my life. And there's this uncle of mine, he's a cousin of my mother, we used to go out with when we were young and younger as in kids. And then now he is the father-in-law of my brother also. And whenever we would go to any restaurant or any picnic space, he would be the one. My father would say, go do your job. And what does that mean is he would go and we would go into a restaurant, we would find seats, we would go into a closed park, or not necessarily a park, a farmhouse, and he would convince the guard to allow us to go in. And whenever we would go and to anywhere, he was the one who would just go and make friends out of these people. I mean, who are you? I mean, they just open the doors, they just open everything for this guy. And I was like, who is this guy? What kind of magic does he has that anybody who talks to him is under a spell? And they would just do anything for him, open the gates, give us free food, never charge us for anything. All kind of weird things I saw growing up. And I wouldn't know that. I was always surprised. I wanted this superpower that I can make friends with anyone. And so I think up till I met Fatma Surya Bajia a few years ago, that was probably less than 10 years ago or 10 years ago, I had no understanding of what this power was. And then I used to go and sit in her house, and then I would see people come in, all walks of life, in her house, and they would say, Bajia this, Bajia that, Bajia this, Bajia that. And she would say, she would greet everyone with so much love and respect, as if they have been here like 100 times before. And so I picked up that from her, and then we would go to places with her, and all she would do, hello, how are you? Come here. And she would give love and say, ah, poor baby. Look, this young man has this problem. Can you please be kind enough and look for the old woman and take care of it and solve it? And she would just speak with so much kindness and love and confidence that they would do anything for this woman. And they would just, be it a policeman, or the governor of our province, or I have seen everyone just go down, hello, Bajia, thank you, Bajia, no problem, Bajia, we will just do everything for you. And I'm like, what's going on over here? And what kind of superpower does this woman has that anybody would do anything? One time, my I don't know if I should share this in public, but one of the politicians took over my uncle's warehouse, and there were gunmen sitting there and all kinds of weirdos. We would not ever go near them. And I mentioned this to Bajia and said, really? He did this? Okay, call your uncle. So my uncle shows up, and then he calls this guy up, the politician. And she's like, how are you, beta? How are you? What's happening? Oh, beta, have you done this? No, Bajia, nothing happened. And like 2 hours later, all the guards were gone. Everything was gone. And this woman who is barely 5 foot tall, and she was like maybe 30 kilo or something, very tiny woman, who had this amazing confidence of talking to human beings, and they would just melt into anything. That's what confidence does. And if you I mean, my work basically on social media, I wanted to discover how can I make people more confident so they can go out and become themselves, come out of their cocoons where they're hiding inside without ever meeting them. So my whole process has been to give them confidence but I don't want to ever meet them. I want to create a software or a system where I can put them inside and they come out as phenomenal, beautiful butterfly. And how does that happen? It happened for me by meeting strangers. I mean, I traveled a lot of countries, and with a stranger, they don't know who you are. So you just show up and you just be yourself, or kind of yourself, or the person you want to be. And then they either accept you or reject you. And then that gives you the confidence to actually, and you do it a few times, and you're like, this version of me is better than the other version of me. I can actually become this version of me. So why don't I give it a try with my friends? And maybe I can be this version of myself. And I think I have not been able to change a million people so far, but still, I think a lot of people. I mean, Carla, you and I have spent how many hours together? I mean, you're teaching a millions of people in your life, and you're like calling me every other day, and I am shivering. I need a friend. I'm going to die. I'm going to have this, and I'm like, Carla, go out on Facebook and make a video about it. And you're like, really? Are you kidding? And then next thing what happens is you put out a video and somebody calls you up and you're fine. So, I think this whole internet thing has been a blessing for me and every one of us. Lee Wiseman was phenomenal when I went and saw him. I was so scared I'm going to meet a Jewish what's a rabbi, and I'm going to be, Yahudi sazish ho jayegi, and some kind of weirdo things will happen. But no, he was such a wonderful human being. He hosted me in his house, and I had, and not just to me. And then and I'm sitting on a Friday, and there are Muslims coming into his house, and there's this Jewish what was this? Just tent of yours, and there was no lighting or anything. It was a Shabbat dinner. So I think confident can only be learned if by practicing and by getting rid of the fear which we have inside us, that this will happen and that will happen. And I have seen phenomenal human beings being inconfident on new things. Everyone and every human being who has not done something before, I mean, they could be, as Kamran Bhai was saying, he trains phenomenal leaders, and I'm sure he has discovered and he knows that these leaders are not ready for change, and the only thing which is changing is it's just different. So I bought a piece of land outside Karachi. It's an hour and a half drive. And I'm not confident enough to go and spend time there. So I force myself and I just go there and just come back. Because I am scared of sitting for 3 hours in a car and wasting my time, but I just go, I need to do it 10 times. So I'm no longer 100% scared. I might be like 60% scared now. And I've done this so many. So I have this thing. I do everything which I don't like. I start to do a little bit of time, and I love the tiny habit concept. And I now implement it in everything in my life. Everything I want to achieve, I force myself enough to that my subconscious stop rejecting it. So be it exercise, be it eating healthy, be it anything, be it starting a business. You give it like homeopathic medicine, very, very small bits, and you can poison the person, but he wouldn't die. You're eating poison in a small little dose, and that's how you build it. And to me, confidence was taken away by our parents and our culture, not by design, but just out of fear of not knowing something. Everybody has given us this fear. No, I've never seen a child who is not confident. He's taught to be inconfident. If I'm scared of height and not confident of height, my mother must have screamed 10 times in my head, don't do this, and that's how I am scared. That's the only reason I am scared. I'm being programmed. And I had this guest over, Aliki, at my house, and she defines the nation of our country in this amazing way. And she says, Pakistanis are like small little children. They're extremely curious, but they hide behind a pillar like a small little child, and they keep peeking out. And they're like, they want to come out, but they're so scared. They come out and they're scared. And then if you look at them and smile, they smile right back at you, and they say, come on here, and they just slowly come out of the pillar, just like a small little child, and then just become slowly phenomenal. I think that's one of the best way anybody has ever described our majority of our country. And I don't think Americans are like that. I think Pakistanis are for sure definitely like this. We are very brave and very not brave at the same time. And we have this struggle we're going out, and I think our country is coming out of the cocoon. Majority are coming out of the cocoon. Thank you to Kamran Bhai and his teachers and people like him who have worked really hard in building this kind of confidence in our next generation. And what they did was, the YLC was phenomenal and the School of Leadership was phenomenal. And I want to thank you. I can't thank you enough, so I have to thank you every time for building projects like these, which allowed these phenomenal children to come out and become themselves and become the change makers, which we want to be in the world, but we're not able to because we are, as you said, overconfident people then become the politicians like Mr. Donald Trump, and then everything is just weird. I mean, I don't want to use any word, which it just becomes weird when overconfident people come in the picture, and majority of us is just basically underconfident. As humanity, we're just a little bit underconfident that we can't do it. And I read this quotation from Rumi yesterday that you were born with wings, yet you choose to crawl on the world. So we're all born with wings, but we should not choose to not use these wings, and we should definitely start flying. And thank you, Carla, for flying so high and taking everybody with you. I'm done.
Well, Rayhan, I have to thank you for teaching me to fly, because that's when all this had started. So thank you also. We'll go on to Asma and probably back to Rayhan maybe a little later. Asma, how do you define confidence?
Sure, sure. Okay, at first let me know, am I clear?
Yeah, but remember to speak slowly.
Yeah, sure. Perfect. I actually organize throughout the journey, my journey, where I find the confidence. For me, if I define confidence, what is? To show the real you. If you are showing your real self, your potential, so this means you are confident. But why, there are questions like why you need the confidence? Why it must be there? Because we are not showing what we want to show. We are not showing, as Kamran said, like you are not showing your abilities, your potential in a right way. So this means you have the potential, you have the ability, but you are not finding the ways to show. So this means you need the confidence because of that. So now, when how we can get the confidence? The first step always comes, know yourself. I think that a lot of problem would get solved when you know yourself. When you sit down and work on yourself, who are you, what you want in this life, what the potential you have, what the abilities you have, what's your goals, and at the end, where you want to see yourself when you would die, where you want to see yourself. So there are a lot of answers would came. You get to know what are you. So when you get to know yourself, there are a lot of the problems get solved. So I think whenever someone who is lacking of confidence and who want to be confident, he need to be sit down and work on himself. At first, he need to be find out the ways what he want to, and he need to know himself. When he will know, then there are a lot of ways. I want to share the ways that I use. Like why we are not confident, because we usually have, as Rehan sir said, our environment since our childhood giving us the criticism, taughting us no. When there are a lot of no's are added in your life, you hardly say yes. You're so scared to say yes to anyone, to anything. Because when you have listened so much no's, you're stick with the no's. You don't want to say yes to anything in your life. So at first, focus on yes. Say more in add in your life more yes. and then fill your life with motivation. Right? In the past, it was difficult. It was difficult to get the ways of motivation, but now we have a lot of ways to add motivation in your life, because this happened. I'm not the confident child. As Rehan sir said, I always, whenever some guest came in our house, I always uh, hide myself at the behind the door, and then I look who is coming, even with my dad. This is the regret of my life, that I have not the good relation with my dad, because he loved me a lot, but I have so much, like, I was not confident to show my love to him. So this become my regret. But because of that, with the passage of time, I find out the ways and I work on that. So fill your life with the motivation, say, involve, yes, more in your life, and then enhance knowledge. We usually are less confident because we have not the knowledge. And when you have not the knowledge about anything, you can't talk about that, you can't be confident about that, you can't discuss that thing. So this is also the thing where we, I don't know overall the nation, but the youth are lacking. We don't study much, we don't get much knowledge, and we just involved in the things randomly. So when you randomly involved in the things, in the random things, then certainly the results was not as good as we want. So enhance your knowledge is very important. Grip on the knowledge. And then the most important thing, we always focus on weakness. I failed there, I'm not good. I'm slim and smart. Everybody laughed at me. You are just like a thin stick who can fly with the wind. You are not looking beautiful. You have very bad teeth. Your language is like blah, blah, blah. So I think we usually focus on that. Whenever we sit with ourselves, we usually focus. My dad friend said this to me. We never uh, focus on the things that are strengths, so we need to focus on the strength. Yeah, in somewhere I failed. I didn't perform well there. But there are a lot of places I performed well. There are a lot of places where I was at the top, where I shine like a bright star, where people appreciate me. So there are a lot of places. So I think when we add these 3 or 4 points in our life, then things would become easy. And the last thing we never do, celebrate our wins, which we never do. I'm also bad with that. It's like when you get something, it's like, okay, that's enough. Now move on the next thing. So you don't take a pause to celebrate that win. We always need some break to celebrate what we already achieved, and then move to the next thing. This step we always missed. When we miss this step, this always causes confusion and stress. So always celebrate your little wins, tiny wins. And yeah, these are the things that we can do to build our confidence. But always remember, you can also give confidence to the other person. If you appreciate that person, if you start appreciating the people, if you pushing them forward, you can give the confidence. There might be a lot of people are waiting there for they just need a push, they just need little appreciation. We can become that person. If we have little confidence in our life, we can share this.
Asma, one quick question, or maybe it isn't a quick question. You're saying that should confidence be coming from inside or from outside?
Yeah, Carla, it's great if, like we talk about motivation. Self motivation is great. It's super. Similarly, self confidence is great, but we can we can add the vaccine in someone, and then vaccine by itself start working the process. So somehow we can inject the vaccination to the other person, and then the vaccination automatically start the process. So somehow people need it. It's very great if someone like get the motivation and get this confidence by itself, but somehow people need it, and we can give. we can give them the confidence. We can appreciate them. With the passage of time, when they start the things, they automatically get the confidence. At first, someone gave me the confidence. If, as Rehan sir shared his journey, their Saya Bajia somehow give him the confidence, appreciate him. So there is the involvement of heart. So somehow we have the involvement of other people in life. When the process begins, things going to be settled. So confidence building is not a one step; it's a process. It takes time, like the other things. It's just like the growth. So it happened with the process of time. So, you start something when your mother pushed you and you start something. With the passage of time, when you're getting the results, when you see, yeah, this is my best food, you automatically getting the confidence. So I think both are important.
I am bad with this mic thing. Although I'm not supposed to be saying that to myself. But it's true. Confidence comes with maybe someone pushing you. But once you're pushed, it begins to come from inside. Like you and Rayhan totally pushed me for the conference. And it ended up being a good thing. Jeannie, you have been looking like you want to say something. So take the mic.
You you asked if it was an inner or an outer skill, confidence, and I'm recalling a story thanks to Rayhan in his description of the Pakistani hiding behind the pillar. I remember when I was 4 years old, my mother took me to the school that my older brothers and sisters went to, and it was a Catholic school. And it was back in the day when the Catholic nuns wore very long skirts and they had the big headdress. And from a 4-year-old, it was a little foreign. So I hid behind my mother's skirt. And I remember pulling the skirt in front of me. And my mother was a little frustrated. I should let you know she had 7 children and I was number 4. So she had 3 little ones with her as well. And she was coming to do hot dog day for everyone. So she was busy. And here I am being, really timid as a 4-year-old. And what she didn't know was, in my mind, that nun was Rosie the robot from the Jetsons. That's what I saw when I saw this woman in a long skirt. The Jetsons was a cartoon made into the future. Rosie was a robot. She was on wheels. So I couldn't see this woman's feet. So I thought she had wheels, and she just frightened me. And my mother grabbed my arm and pulled me out and said, "Say hi to sister," whatever her name was. I was filled with fear, but I did what my mother said. And what that reminded me of was that there are times that when we didn't have control, we were children, when we were given messages to do something or to be some way that didn't feel right. So when my son was little and he showed that kind of fear, I got down on my knees instead, because I remembered my reaction. I got down on my knees, I gave him a hug, and I said, "It's okay. This is a friend." And then he warmed up. So fast forward, I have a child who's now 30 who doesn't seem to have a problem with confidence, because there's a way of nurturing that in our children. And we've learned that, or I should say, I've learned that I nurtured that. And I'm going to do that with the next generation, with my grandson and my granddaughter. But we can do that for ourselves. Every time we feel that fear, there's a natural friction that goes into our head that starts out inside. And that's when the ego comes out and says, "Don't do that. You can't do that." Or this is weird. And says things like, "Who do you think you are? Why do you think you can do this?" There's the other part of you, the brain, that says, "I can stretch. I can do this. I know what I'm doing." So there's an inner argument, if you will, And when you win the argument, it's when you take a step forward. And it doesn't have to be a big step. It's just a baby step. When you have the stage fright, and believe me, whenever I'm up in front of a group, I have stage fright. But I take a deep breath, I kind of ground myself, and I say, I can do this. And then I move forward. And once the first sentence is out, the stage fright moves away, and I can give my story, whatever it is. And that took practice. That took doing it over and over and over and over. You can never practice enough. In fact, when I'm coaching people for presentations and for speaking, I tell them, when you think you know it and you think you've got it, relax for a minute and then do it again, because it needs to become muscle memory. It needs to become something that you do automatically, like breathing, or once you've learned to ride a bicycle, you can ride a bicycle whenever it comes. You could not ride a bicycle for 10 years and then see one and you know what to do, because it's muscle memory. When you drive a car and you see a red light, your foot automatically goes to the brake because you know you have to stop. It's muscle memory. So confidence can become muscle memory as well when we acknowledge that kind of creative fiction inside of us that tries to hold us back. And that's the ego doing its job. The ego is built, biologically, because back in the day, if we didn't listen to our inner intuitive selves, we would have been tiger food. We would have been eaten. So there's that mechanism that keeps us alive, but there's also a mechanism that tells us to shine, that inner spark of who we are. And we don't let the inner spark out without practicing, without cognitively moving forward to let it shine. So every time Lee says he would get frightened when he was speaking, and now he can speak anywhere, that's because he practiced. Good job, Lee, by the way. And we all need to practice doing that, because we're still going to have the stage fright, like Christina Ricci, the actress, said. We're still going to have that. That's part of the friction that we have inside of ourselves that makes us who we are. And we're brave when we step forward. So I think that Ozma's right. You have to have the motivation to move forward, and then you have to take baby steps to get there. It's not going to happen overnight. We have to unlearn some behavior. I still feel like that 4-year-old girl behind mama's skirts periodically. And I now, instead of reacting in fright, I say, well, there you are. I've missed you. I haven't seen you in a while. What am I supposed to worry about? Let's figure this out. And you can do that in a kind of a meditative state. So you're not disrupting your life. You just take a minute or two and breathe and say, what's this about? And then work through it. There's so much that we all can do, and we have no idea because we weren't always celebrated. Asma, that's good advice, to celebrate your wins. Even if they're small, celebrate them so that you have more confidence the next time. It's a work in progress. It's something that we have to continually work on. I'm pretty sure if I sat down with President Barack Obama, let's put that out in the universe that I'd like to do that. He's a very confident personality, but I'm pretty sure in his early days he wasn't so confident. And yet, look at how he stands in the world. He's a global elder, if you will. People look to him for advice. And that didn't come easy. I'm pretty sure it did not come easy at all. So it was a building process. Rehan, I'm sure that you might have been inconfident, as you said, because your brother overshadowed you. I have a sister who did everything better than me. So I stopped doing things because I didn't want her to always win, until I realized it wasn't a contest, that we had different takes. She was a painter and she could paint a very realistic portrait. I'm a little bit more abstract when I do it, and I had to realize that's a different style. And yet, turn around, I can write her out of yeah, I can just write so much that she's like, I can't write anymore. So we did compete a bit, but we found where our strengths were. And my mother was excellent at pointing out our strengths and using us, where our strengths were. So, there's nurturing, and we should all be nurturing everybody to be more confident. And then there's personal inner improvement and inner growth, that we can all be confident. And that spark inside of us will guide the way when we let it.
Thank you, Jeannie. I want to go on to someone else. That was really wonderful, but we're actually coming to the end, and I want everyone to be able to say something. But fantastic. Lee?
I just wanted to say, your question was whether or not confidence comes from outside or inside, and certainly I think that there are things that happen to us on the outside which encourage us to have confidence. But I think that there are also very powerful sources of confidence inside. I would say in my case, and I'm going to guess in Rehan's case, that a sense of mission is a powerful source of confidence. When you feel that you're involved in doing something which is truly good, it allows you a certain bravery, a certain courage. To, in the case of Rehan, right, to come to my house, into the tent in my backyard, knowing that when he posted on Facebook, he's going to get all sorts of hate and whatever else. But if you're on a mission, if you have this this powerful sense of purpose, the purpose itself becomes a source of confidence. And I would say, and I have to say this as a religious person, I think when a person has faith in God, that's also a very powerful source of confidence. When you feel like you're doing what you believe is God's will, it can give you a lot of confidence. Now, problem, of course, is that sometimes we fool ourselves into thinking that we're doing God's will when we're not. And you can still be confident in doing wrong because of that. But nevertheless, it's a very, very powerful source of confidence.
Are you feeling more confident now, Lee?
I was always confident. I was just kidding with you. I always feel pretty confident.
I thought.
For better or worse.
Come on.
Yes, I'll be brief, Carla. There are two things I want to share. One is a book written by a gentleman called Kaisar Abbas, and it is titled, Well Done, You Can Do It. And I thought that title is an example of how you build confidence in people you don't even know. And when you go to the bookshop and you see this title, you actually want to buy it because someone is saying to you, the author is saying to you that you can do it. And I feel that that's a very, very powerful idea. And then I want to thank Nike for coming up with a very simple tagline, which is so powerful. Just do it. And doing it is what builds confidence. And I feel that in the context of an action or an activity, traveling is wow. Because the more unfamiliar territory you explore, the more your confidence expands. So allow butterflies to fly in your tummy all the time. Engage in weird and wonderful things. Particularly meet people who are different from you, who come from backgrounds very, very, very different from you, and learn from them and understand. And yes, you will feel all the things that Jean was talking about, fear and anguish and uncertainty, confusion. But all of that is part of growing up, isn't it? And as our Asma just mentioned, that confidence building or building confidence is a process. And it's a lifelong process. So yes, keep discovering, keep learning, and network as widely as you can. And I think in this context, Rehan Allahwala's contribution has been amazing in that he has gotten thousands of people believing in themselves, coming on the internet, hosting shows, and at the same time discovering ways of generating revenue, which is a practical contribution to their own lives and the lives of those that are in their families and communities. So I have a feeling that just doing things, do it, just do it, is a great slogan by Nike, and it's an enduring one. Thank you.
I totally agree with that. And that was something that Ozma and Rayhan kept on telling me before the conference. Stop thinking about it, start doing. And that's what I did. And look at it, was amazing. Asma, my buddy, my technical person.
Yeah, I just want to add up one line. Whatever happened in the life, in the beginning of the day, get up, take a bath, dress up, because we usually don't take care of yourself. So even you are doing work remotely, I just add this thing in my life recently. Even you are doing work remotely, don't just get up and check the phone and start working. Take some time, get up, take a bath, show, dress yourself, do the things, talk, and after that start the work. This actually happens helps you a lot. Even you're starting a little thing, even for this program, for this session, you can add little preparation. When you add the preparation before doing something, this actually gives you confidence. So I just want to say, add preparations in your life, for yourself also, and for the things. You can search something, you can dress up yourself, you can make your hairs. So just add little preparations before doing things.
In other words, self-care is important. Is that what you're saying, Asma? Something we have been talking about?
Yeah, self-care, also self-care is important, and I'm also adding, not about yourself but also the things. Like if we're talking about the confidence, so we can search out, we can think for the stories that are related with the confidence. It's just like I was just saying, not blindly appear in front of anything.
Very well said, Asma. And like always, thank you so much. And Rayhan.
He has said it non-verbally.
I want him to say something verbally.
I have to go to the toilet. Can I go?
Really?
Yes, really.
Well, that's something I don't want to hold you up from.
He said with such confidence.
Extreme confidence. And I totally respect it. Okay, I think we've come up with some good thoughts and also tips for building confidence that everyone can use. And I want to thank you, everyone who came and spoke. You were absolutely wonderful. Does anyone else want to say one last word before I say goodbye to everyone?
I just want to remind everyone to take a deep breath all the way down to their toes, to just make sure that they're present. And when they're present, they'll be confident.
Very true.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Lee, Kamran, Rayhan, Asma. So we will be back on Tuesday, and I think it may be Girl Power, but we'll be back on Tuesday with MindPlore and see what other people have to say. And with that, let's wave goodbye. Bye, everyone.